I think the biggest issue that international students, if you want to talk about that, is that there is something that exists right now that didn't happen before when I came here, was that there was no social media. Right now, people that are outside of Canada and they have the resources to come, financial resources to come, they have a cocktail of ideas implanted by social media about what Canada is.
Welcome to another edition of our podcast series here on YouTube. We've got Andy with us today. We're pretty excited. You know why I'm excited? I'm always excited when Pierre is not here because I get to enjoy myself even more. Pierre just holds me down. He suppresses me on the show. But we're happy to have Andy today. Andy, welcome to our podcast today. And is this a debut podcast on YouTube? Is this your first podcast on YouTube, or have you done this before?
I have done a first one before.
Oh, excellent, excellent.
But this is my first podcast in English.
Oh, in English?
So you gotta bear with my French accent.
Excellent. So tell us a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about what you do, and then we can get on with the conversation this morning.
Sure thing. Well, my name is Andrea, or in Espanol is Andrea. I was born and raised in the south of Mexico. It's a state called Chiapas. And what I do now, I dedicate myself to do student recruitment. And I was part of I just did a postgraduate program in human resources management. And I've been doing student recruitment for the last 5 years.
So you came to Canada as an international student, and then went into the world of work, and then studied, and then you're still recruiting people now to come to Canada.
Yes, well, that's correct. I moved here in 2008, and can we say names of colleges? No, because they don't pay us. So until I don't see a check from GBC, just kidding. Yeah, so I studied in George Brown, and I was actually, fun fact, the first generation of holding a PGWP. In 2008, was something new.
Right.
And I moved here as an international student, did the 2 years. I was lucky enough that I got 3 years work permit. And at that time, also I was the first generation to apply for the Express Entry, when Express Entry was Express, actually. Because I think I got it within 8 months. Now the Express is
now it's Express on the Turtleback.
On a 2 years Express system. I mean, there's more people now. And my plan was not originally to move to Canada. To be fair, I happened to visit the first time I entered Canada was by train ever in my life. I was living in New York State. I was a nanny and one of those au pair. I didn't know what to do with my life, so I went to do an au pair, hanging out with kids and getting paid in American dollars was pretty fun.
Right.
And then one day we saw an advertising trip to come to the Niagaras, and then we went. And then we visit Toronto, and my friends and I were like, what is this?
This
people
is the place.
Here smile. The New York people don't smile. The people are so nice. There is this thing called Tim Hortons, and then we love it.
Double?
Exactly. And then they speak different. They spell center different.
Right.
So I kind of asked around, and then someone that we met took me to GBC that same week. And that's how a very nice Colombian lady helped me, gave me a list of documents. At that time, everything was printed, and she's like, you can fax your documents here, and then we can schedule and I was lucky enough that I did high school in an English school, one of those that you 50-50. So my transcripts were in English, and then I sent that, and then I called my parents and say, I know what I'm going to do with my life. I'm going to go to Canada for 2 years, and then I'm coming back to Mexico. And 17 years later, I'm still here. They're waiting for me. I told them to sit down.
So, that's a pretty exciting journey. You travel through from Mexico all the way up to Canada. You've taken on that journey. You've studied here. How has it been for you? Were there challenges along the way that you would have probably faced in your journey to being a permanent resident here in Canada?
I think, and I always tell this to people, the Canada I experience is completely different than the Canada people are experiencing right now as international students. When I moved here, it was an adventure. It was everything was fun. I was meeting people from all over the world. We came here to study. The word migration or PR barely appeared in any of our conversations. We were here enjoying the snow, learning to different places, traveling. I went camping for a week to the Algonquin Park, I think the first year.
Right.
So it was a different experience. Challenges, yes, for sure, but the other advantage I have for me was the fact that it was an adventure. Like right now, I feel like people are leaving jobs and houses and a lot of like careers back home, and it's more harder for them. For me, I was a teenager, like coming out of high school, and it was fun. I was hanging out with kids in the States for a year, and then I came here and I got to go to school and I met people. So the experience was completely different. I remember even for finding places, we needed to print the MapQuest. I don't even know if you know, guys, what that is. That's how old I am. Yeah. So you needed to print MapQuest and then like turn here and right. And you were with you'll see people with their maps.
And you're
like
going
walking. Exactly. And then people refer to the city as northeast, northwest. So this is why I always tell people these directions and they're like, huh?
Right.
Just send me the location and I'll find any GPS, because before that used to be that way.
Yeah.
So I got to experience a completely different. Obviously, the application process, the immigration process, it was a bit more friendlier. I remember we went to the Canadian Embassy in Mexico City. They took everything. It was super fast. My parents, I am here because of my parents. That's the reality. You always need
support,
like finances, like resources, which are finances, resources, pretty solid in order for them to welcome you. Another advantage I have is like the dollar was very low back then.
Right
now, I mean, we're talking about Mexican pesos. It was like, I think 14, 13 pesos is $1. Yeah. Back then it was like 9 to 10 pesos.
Because I think in 2008 when the financial crisis was there, the Canadian dollar was a kind of strong, and the US dollar was weakening at that time. So yeah, it was probably a bit better then. As you said, 17 years now later, we're dealing with a lot of economic crisis and all of that happening. So yeah.
And it was so easy. Like even for jobs, I remember I have a friend at school, and I asked him like, I'm looking for a job. He's like, oh, come to my restaurant tonight after class. Right. We went to his restaurant, and they hired me on the spot. Wow. They were like, do you know how to wash dishes? And I was like, yes. Okay, so you're starting tomorrow, Friday. Right. You're a student, right? I'm like, yeah. Okay, so Monday I was doing the whole weekend. Right. And I was eating for free, and I was super happy. Everything, I was like, I remember I called my mom one day. Right. Even we didn't have direct calls. You have to get one of those cards where you dial the number, dial your code, and then dial your code, your final number. Right. And I called my mom and I said, you know what? I'm like right now, like I'm doing dishes. I was so excited, and my mom was mortified. But it was an adventure. I was only 18 years old. I don't think, and then obviously I did all of the immigration jobs. I was a nanny, I was a dog walker, I did like so many operational jobs. I worked in kitchens before. Right. But it was definitely an experience that I wanted, and then I embraced it the way it was. I didn't really had like second thoughts or anything. And then my thought was always, I'm gonna be here only temporary. I'm just gonna be here for 2-3 years, and then I'm going home. And that was the mentality of the majority of the students, international students, that we were like only 4 international students per group, which was very low. Now the numbers I think are backwards.
So there's a lot more of international students coming in, wanting that opportunity to experience some of the things that you experience, right? And also now, as you said, their journey towards ensuring that they have probably permanent residence and a better life, probably in Canada, right? So you said you're recruiting students to come to Canada. What are those expectations for those students now coming in to study?
Okay, so I need to just, like a side note, I don't recruit for international students anymore. I used to do it like 2020. Now I'm 100% focused on domestic students. And I promote the VBA program and the MBA. For a university, also they're not paying us, so we're not going to tell their name. We're not promoting. If they don't pay, just kidding. I think the biggest issue that international students, if you want to talk about that, is that there is something that exists right now that didn't happen before when I came here, was that there was no social media. Right now, people that are outside of Canada and they have the resources to come, financial resources to come, they have a cocktail of ideas implanted by social media about what Canada is. When I moved here, I came to the country and I didn't see any exactly like I didn't see you can see like the pictures or the famous brand right now, right? Instagram. I didn't have any of that, so my decision was purely based on the fact that I wanted to study school, higher education or post-secondary in Canada. I didn't see any pictures, nobody told me I can get anything regarding PR, nothing. So I will say that right now the environment, the ecosystem completely is messed up, and that's one of the biggest issues. People come here demanding a PR, which in order for you to do it, you need to qualify for. And this is why people are so angry at the system. But in reality, you don't see any government advertisements in social media saying, here, come to Canada, we're gonna welcome you because it's fun. The majority of this is coming from social media, and this is a bigger issue. And I will, if I were you, like if I were the governor, I will be like kind of putting a ban on that, because that's the biggest issue. People come here with the wrong idea. They don't come with the idea of like, I'm going to study in an international setting, I'm going to be competitive, and then if I have the opportunity, I will apply. They come backwards. I'm going to go to Canada, and I'm going to get my PR, and I'm going to get a car that is going to cost me $60,000. I had my first car probably 8 years after I moved to Canada. People come here, and within a year, they're getting cars for like $60,000 car because they look cool, and I think that's the bigger issue.
So the issue so your advice then to the international students coming into Canada would be to focus on their studies and then be as good as they can, and then permanent residence become like an afterthought, that it becomes natural to the process, because if you're competitive and you're trying to achieve the best, then automatically, well, not automatically, but eventually it could lead to permanent residence. So permanent residence shouldn't be the ultimate goal of why you're coming to Canada.
Exactly. Like, you have your money, you're paying for education, come and enjoy the country. Like Canada, and people very focus only on 2-3 provinces. Canada got 10 provinces plus the territories. Yes. I live in 3 of them. All of the provinces have something to offer. They have multicultural companies. They have even, for example, BC, they have like people who are studying anything related to engineering or something like that. The oil is over there, also in Alberta.
Right.
So there's a different way. There is no such a Canadian way of living. Every province has something different to offer you. And like, I mean, until like, last month we were the strongest partners with US. Now it's a bit, it's a bit shaky.
It's a bit
but
shaky.
But before, lots of companies were here. Like, for example, like, Google, there is always opportunity, and you're getting Canadian education, which is one of the top rank in the world.
So value your education, value your experience. Those lessons will take you a far way in Canada.
Yes, that would be my advice. So you don't get traumatized by, this is not happening. I don't have a Tesla like all the other international students when I saw it in social media. Just, I was in a bike all the time. So embrace your journey first as a student, and then decide, because I think there is this place where you have to see if this is for you. I met a lot of people back in the day. They were like, no, thank you. Like, I got my transcript. I'm going home. This is too cold. That's another thing that people don't see.
Yeah. That's true. So, thank you so much for. I think that is such a valuable advice that you've provided today. I think we have tunnel vision in terms of, we just look at that PR. But it can be more than that. It can be that experience that you can enjoy. And yes, you can always think about permanent residence. There's always opportunities for you to get there. There are, avenues in which you can take to get to that point. But also, don't give up on creating these lasting memories that you'll have.
Yeah, because if you study with people from all over the world, your network is going to expand.
That's right.
And your experiences too.
Right. And, just maybe also for our audience, you said you did study, and then after that you were able to get into the role of a job. What's your advice there in terms of ensuring that international students, after they've graduated, land that first role? What's their key to ensuring that happens? Well,
I did the whole path all the way from international student to Canadian citizen, but also I did the path from working in the kitchen. My first program in George Brown was food and beverage in culinary arts. So I was 100% focused in the kitchen. I was curious. I will just say that. I kind of like, I think you need to experience things in life. When I was 18, I didn't know I wanted to do recruitment, or I didn't know I wanted to be part of like learning about the laws and labor relations and all that. That's something that is came up once I have experience, and then once I was like, oh, what are you doing? Like, I want to do what you're doing. Like, tell me, oh, I got this certification, this postgrad, and that's how I basically develop also professionally.
So a network, marketing yourself, and also having that curiosity.
Exactly.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I think that's a good point to end our podcast today. Thank you so much for coming on, Andrea. I think all of what you've shared is valuable for us and our audience, and we appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me.
All
right.
It
was fun.
And enjoy your French as well. Thank you.
I will. Thank you.
All right, that is it for us today. Remember to like, subscribe, and share our content. And of course, we'll be back with another episode soon. And that is it for us. Bye-bye for now.